From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday led the launching of the National Fiber Backbone or NFB project Phases 2 and 3 in Palo, Leyte Province as part of government efforts to extend fast and reliable internet access across more regions in the country, especially in remote and underserved communities. The expanded phases of the NFB will provide an additional 100 gigabits per second of bandwidth through 31 new nodes of the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, or NGCP, benefiting at least 20 provinces, 1,000 government agencies, and an estimated 1.39 million users. In his speech, the President emphasized the urgency of digital connectivity as a basic need. The Chief Executive also acknowledged the disparity in internet access across the country, citing the daily struggles of those in geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas or GIDAs who still need to travel far just to find signal.
Dahil sa panahon ngayon, hindi na privilege ang pagkakaroon ng access sa mabilis na internet. Ito ay pangangailangan na. Kailangan ito sa pag-aaral, sa trabaho, sa negosyo, at para mapanatili ang koneksyon sa mga mahal sa buhay. Ngunit, ang katotohanan din ang hindi pantay-pantay ang access ng internet ng mga Pilipino. May ilang bahagi ng bansa na hindi pa rin naabot ng signal, kaya napipilitan pang bumiyahe ng malayo para maghanap ng signal. Kaya narito kami ngayon upang mailapit ang internet para sa lahat, lalo na sa mga nasa GIDAs, yung mga isolated and underserved areas.
The newly activated phases of the NFB follow the successful rollout of Phase 1 in 2024, which laid a 1,245-kilometer fiber optic network connecting Lawag, Ilocos Norte to Quezon City. This initial backbone now serves 14 provinces in northern and central Luzon, Metro Manila, several ecozones, and national data centers. Phases 2 and 3 will expand coverage in Luzon from Cagayan Valley to Calabarzon and the Bicol region, traverse eastern Visayas, and establish the groundwork for future connectivity in Mindanao by linking Cagayan de Oro and Davao cities. The Department of Information and Communications Technology, or DICT, which leads the project, aims to fully connect the country by 2028 through succeeding NFB phases, the Middle Mile Network, and Last Mile programs like GovNet and Free Public Internet Access.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, after leading the launch of the National Fiber Backbone Project Phases 2 and 3 in Palo, Leyte Province, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. held an online dialogue with schools and health units from various parts of the country utilizing the free public Wi-Fi. President Marcos led the launching of the free public Wi-Fi site at the MacArthur Landing Memorial National Park in Palo, reaffirming the government's commitment to expand digital connectivity across the country. Spearheaded by the Department of Information and Communications Technology, or DICT, the initiative is part of the Free Public Internet Access Program, or FPIAP, aimed at bridging the digital divide and improving public access to vital online services. During the event, President Marcos conducted an internet speed test with DICT Secretary Henry Aguda to demonstrate the reliability of the service. The President engaged in an online conversation with schools and health units from Batanes, Zambales, Marawi, and Tawi-Tawi, showcasing the far-reaching benefits of the program. The test showed stable internet connectivity.
At gamitin nyo na mabuti yung internet natin para na-connected na tayo sa buong mundo. Hindi lamang sa Pilipinas, sa buong mundo. Good luck sa inyo lahat, boys and girls, mga teachers, mga guro. Maraming salamat po. Thank you po.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Monday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is in full support of strengthening transparency and accountability in government, Malacañang said, amid a proposed law mandating public officials to waive their bank secrecy rights. Senate President Francis Escudero earlier refiled a measure that mandates all public officials and employees to waive their rights under Republic Act or RA number 1405 or the Law on the Secrecy of Bank Deposits and RA number 6426 or the Foreign Currency Deposit Act. Under Escudero's bill, government personnel, except those serving in an honorary capacity, will be required to submit a written waiver authorizing the Office of the Ombudsman to examine all their deposits and investments, including foreign currency accounts, in a fresh bid to reinforce anti-corruption efforts and bolster public trust in government institutions. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro, during a press briefing in Malacañang, said the President is likely to support the measure, being a supporter of transparency in governance.
Ang Pangulo po ay sang-ayon po at dapat lamang po nating ipatupad itong accountability and transparency sa gobyerno. So hindi po tayo magkakaroon ng negatibong sagot mula sa Pangulo.
Efforts to institutionalize mandatory waivers have been filed in past Congresses but have yet to gain enough traction to become law. In pushing for the bill, Escudero said secrecy of bank deposits, while historically enacted to encourage savings and economic development, now acts as a shield for illicit activity.
Dateline Malacañang.
Still on Monday, Malacañang said Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is supportive of proposals to regulate and possibly tax online gaming platforms, especially if aimed at protecting public welfare and addressing gambling addiction. In a press briefing, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the President acknowledges the dangers of unregulated online gambling and will not oppose well-studied measures and policies to control the sector. Beyond taxing legitimate gaming platforms, Castro said, the administration would also intensify efforts to crack down illegal or unregistered online gambling operations.
Ang proposal po na ito ng DOF na magkaroon po ng tax para po marestriktuhan ang mga online gaming ay para naman po ito sa ikabubuti ng pamilyang Pilipino. Batid po ng Pangulo na maaari mangyari sa mga gumon sa sugal at hindi niya naman po tututulan basta po mayroon pong sapat na pag-aaral para po ang tungkol sa buwis na ipapataw man. Pero paiigtingin pa po, maliban po dito sa mga online gaming sites na license or lehitimo naman, paiigtingin po lalo ang paglaban sa mga illegitimate o yung mga yung hindi tama or hindi rehistradong mga online gaming sites.
Castro also addressed growing calls in Congress to impose stricter regulations or even ban online gambling altogether, saying that the president is carefully monitoring developments.
Ang Pangulo po ay nakikinig kung ano nangyayari sa ating mga kababayan at kung ano man po ang bill na ipapasa nila, ito'y pag-aaralan mabuti, kung ito'y makakabuti sa ating ekonomiya and at the same time makakabuti para sa taong bayan.
Online gambling has been under scrutiny in the country amid concerns over rising addiction, social cost, and proliferation of illegal operators. Senator Juan Miguel Zubiri recently filed the Anti-Online Gambling Act, pushing for a total ban, while other lawmakers seek tighter regulation through licensing and taxation.
Dateline Malacañang.
Moving on, Malacañang on Monday assured the public that the country's national debt, now close to 17 trillion pesos as of the end of March 2025, remains within a sustainable level despite recent increases. Presidential Communications Office or PCO Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the government's borrowing under the Marcos administration was channeled primarily into growth-enhancing investments such as infrastructure, education, agriculture, health, and social services. Castro cited the Department of Finance or DOF saying the debt level is sustainable and still below the international threshold of 70% debt to GDP or gross domestic product ratio.
Ito po ay ginamit sa mga growth-enhancing investments tulad ng infrastructure, education, agriculture, health, at social services. Makikita po natin kung ano ang mga tinulong ng Pangulo at ng pamahalaan sa mga farmers natin, sa mga mangingisda po natin. Pati po itong pagpapataas din po ng mga ayuda at tulong sa ating mga kababayan. Makikita niyo po yan. At ito po ayon sa ating DOF, Department of Finance, ay sustainable. Nasa sustainable level po tayo. At dahil po ang 70% po ang international threshold for the debt to GDP ratio. So, nandun pa po tayo dahil sabi nyo nga po, nung nakaraang taon, nasa 60.2, kung di ako nagkakamali, 60.7%, pero ngayon mukhang tumaas ng konti.
62%.
But still, nandun pa rin po tayo sa range. It's supposed to be below 70%.
Data from the Bureau of the Treasury showed the Philippines' running sovereign debt stock has ballooned further to a record high of nearly 16.92 trillion pesos as of the end of May, amid continued capital-raising efforts by the government to back its budgetary requirements. This is up 0.99% from the end of April level of 16.75 trillion pesos.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news Monday, the Philippine Consulate General in Houston confirmed that no Filipino casualties have been reported so far following the deadly flash floods that hit Kerrville City and nearby counties in Central Texas. In an interview over Radio Pilipinas, Consul General Gunther Emil Sales assured the public that the consulate is in close coordination with the Filipino community in the affected areas to check on families and provide assistance if needed. There are an estimated 100 Filipino Americans and Filipinos in Kerrville City. He added that affected individuals have received support from neighbors, friends, and local authorities. Some have temporarily relocated to nearby cities such as Austin and San Antonio. Kerrville is also home to Camp Mystic, a well-known private Christian summer camp for girls. At least 82 people have died, including 28 children, in the flash floods that hit the United States state on July 4th. Many of the casualties were campers along the banks of the Guadalupe River.
yung mismong sigurong pwede nating itawag na ground zero of this disaster or calamity, nangyari po ito dun sa city na tinatawag na po na Kerrville City. So, isa siyang maliit po na syudad sa Kerrville County, pero may kalapitan po siya sa San Antonio at saka Austin. So, nagpapasalamat po tayo na hindi po masyadong maraming Pilipino ang naninirahan po doon sa Kerrville City. May direct contacts na po tayo doon sa mga community na tumitira po ron. And it's estimated that there are about 100 Filipino Americans and Filipinos in Kerrville City. Sa ngayon, base po doon sa mga report na nanggagaling po sa kanila, in terms of reports from local authorities and their network of other Filipino community members in this hard-hit city po, wala pong casualties na Filipino or Filipino Americans. Pero tama po kayo, Sir Ray, the situation on the ground is still very fluid. According to local emergency responders, kung ano po yung mga estimate po nila dun sa death toll, which today stands at about 80 na po, no? So kahapon we were looking at about 40. So now it stands at about 80. The majority of whom are again victims of the flash flooding in Kerrville City. So tama po kayo, karamihan po ng mga biktima po na nasawi po ng baha were campers sa Guadalupe River. It just so happens po yung malakas na ulan nangyari po on the July 4 weekend. So talagang po siguro nagbabakasyon po yung mga tao ron. And it just so happens they were on the banks of the river when this flash flood occurred. Again po, we're very happy so far that there are no reports of any Filipinos who have been who passed away because of this tragedy po.
That was Philippine Consulate General in Houston, Gunther Emil Sales.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, is continuously monitoring the volcanic tremors at Taal volcano in Batangas province. According to PHIVOLCS, the tremors started around 3:37 on Sunday morning, July 6, which indicates continuous activity under the volcano. Sulfur dioxide emission also registered 377 tons per day on July 4th. Besides this, PHIVOLCS also observed a weak plume emission from the volcano's crater that reached 900 meters high and drifted to the northeast. PHIVOLCS earlier warned that Taal volcano may erupt any time following an increase in seismic activity. It said the sharp increase in real-time seismic amplitude measurements, or RSAM, and the lack of observable degassing from the main crater may indicate blockage or plugging of volcanic gas pathways within the volcano, which may lead to short-term pressurization and trigger a phreatic or even a minor phreatomagmatic eruption. Phreatic eruptions are steam-driven, while phreatomagmatic eruptions may include lava. PHIVOLCS reminded the public that Alert Level 1 remains hoisted over Taal volcano. Entry into Taal Volcano Island, or the Permanent Danger Zone, or PDZ, especially the main crater and Daang Castilla fissures, and occupancy and boating on Taal Lake is not allowed. Also, flying any aircraft close to the volcano. It advised local government units near the volcano to continuously prepare for potential recurrence of volcanic sulfur dioxide increases and exposure of their communities, and undertake appropriate response measures to mitigate the health impacts of these hazards.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, Philippine Senator Loren Legarda on Monday filed a bill seeking to institutionalize a nationwide 1,000 peso monthly allowance for all Filipino students from kindergarten to college, marking what she described as a long-term investment in the country's future. Under the proposed National Student Allowance Program, or NSAP Act, all enrolled students who meet minimum attendance requirements will be entitled to a monthly subsidy aimed at covering basic school-related needs such as food, transportation, and supplies. Legarda said the bill is grounded in the belief that investing in every Filipino student is investing in the nation's present and future. The measure complements a counterpart bill filed in the House by her son, Representative Leandro Legarda Leviste, reinforcing what Legarda called their shared commitment to accessible and inclusive education. The allowance would be distributed through student ID cards or digital vouchers that can only be used with accredited school canteens, transport providers, and school supply vendors. The bill also promotes digital financial inclusion by allowing the student card to double as a basic savings or e-wallet account. To ensure sustainability, the Department of Finance, or DOF, will be mandated to develop a funding framework and conduct an actuarial study every 5 years. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, or BSP, and other implementing partners will be tasked to ensure accessibility of services, especially in remote and underserved areas. If enacted, the program is expected to benefit more than 30 million students across the country.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service is now live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our post as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.